Final Destination Bloodlines is now showing in cinemas, so here's my review of Final Destination Bloodlines. Call it recency bias, but I think this movie might just be the best in the franchise. Because this movie was fun, like a lot of fun. And I know that's not a description you'd normally find or want to hear for a movie that's technically in the horror genre, but I have reason to believe that to a certain type of person, someone who has, say, a dark sense of humor, this movie is a dark comedy. Because let's be honest, the only reason people go to see these movies are for the kills. And it's clear that the people who made this film had that in mind. Because it wastes no time getting to the kills, and boy are the kills in this movie so much fun to watch. They were so creative, and there was clearly a lot of thought put into the conceptualization of these kills, but what really hooked me into this movie was the good execution of its concept. Because in Final Destination Bloodlines, a woman from the 60s gets a premonition of a tower full of people dying. So she does what any good person would do and saves everyone. The people who were supposed to die that day would go on to live their lives and start families of their own. But as you might know by now, Death doesn't like it when you mess with his plans. So decades later, the granddaughter of the woman who saved everyone starts having premonitions as well, meaning she and her family have all been marked for death. Because from Death's perspective, they were never supposed to be born. I know that synopsis was a bit of a mouthful, but trust me, I haven't spoiled anything yet, and I'm not going to. What I really liked about this movie was its level of self-awareness. Like I said, it knows what you're here for, but they also do a really good job of putting you in the shoes of the characters. The characters here know they're marked for death, so they do whatever they can to avoid anything that could kill them. And that feeling of paranoia translates so well on screen. Because like them, you feel just as paranoid, always trying to stay ahead of death by thinking of all the ways he could possibly get them. But it also gives the movie some much needed laughs. And it is in these moments that the movie's self-awareness really shines. To put it simply, it's almost kinda like Scream's meta humor meets Final Destination. I say almost and kinda because it's not to the point where they act like they straight up know they're in a movie. Another thing I liked about this movie was the acting. The acting here is the best it's ever been, because if you rewatch the old movies, a lot of them kinda have that cringy early 2000s acting, like you know they got cast because they look like models. I don't want to use the term CW acting because a lot of really talented actors got their start at the CW, but yeah, the older Final Destination films had a kind of CW reject vibe to them. But in this movie, I feel the actors they have here are actually pretty good. To my fellow Filipinos, ready your Filipino pride, because a good amount of the cast is Filipino. Technically Filipino-American, or in the case of lead actress Kaitlyn Juana, Filipino-Canadian, but regardless, this means we got a new cousin to cheer for now. Speaking of actors, we obviously have to talk about a veteran of the franchise, Tony Todd. This is Tony Todd's last role because he sadly passed away last year, and I personally think he got the best send-off an actor could ever wish for, because his last scene in this movie was truly fitting. And not gonna lie, I got a little teary-eyed. A sentence I never thought I'd say about a Final Destination movie, but here we are. Rest well, Tony Todd. Overall, I'd say this movie was a really fun time. It's got everything you could want from a Final Destination movie. Epic, gory kills that keep you guessing, some self-referential humor, plus it's nicely paced. I think this is a movie best watched with a crowd because in my screening, people were straight up clapping during the kills. So yeah, gather your friends and go give Final Destination Bloodlines a watch.